Dramatic changes may be coming to the federal government's COVID isolation guidelines. The CDC is now considering a new protocol which would allow those with COVID to leave quarantine after 24 hours fever-free. That's a departure from the recommended 5-day isolation period, which has been in place since 2021. The potential shift in policy comes as medical experts estimate that over 97% of the U.S. population has now acquired some form of immunity to COVID through either acquiring the virus, vaccination, or both. Joining us now, Dr. Paul Offit. He is the director of the Vaccine Education Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, as well as author of the new book, Tell Me When It's Over, an insider's guide to deciphering COVID myths and navigating our post-pandemic world. Dr. Offit, so good to see you this morning. Congratulations on the book. Let's start right there. Your analysis on these potential shift in CDC guidelines and just larger what that tells us about where we are and our ongoing struggle with COVID.
I think the CDC made the right move. The infection works in two parts. The first part, virus replication, the virus reproducing itself, is key. And the second part is when your immune response takes over. When your immune response takes over, virus replication decreases. And as your immune response increases, it's your immune response that causes the symptoms. So their argument that if you've had 1 day of not having fever, what that tells you is that your immune response is abating, it's lessening, and therefore you're much less likely to shed virus. So I think it makes more sense to do that, to sort of tag it to the individual symptoms rather than to just pick an arbitrary length of time like 5 days, 10 days, 7 days, 14 days, because that just sort of tags things to the metric system or the lunar month, which makes little sense. So I think this sort of makes it more individual for the sufferer, and that makes more sense.
You know, Doctor, a lot of people who have been, whether they've been anti-vaccine or just wanted to keep their heads in the sand and attack anybody that talked about COVID being more than a flu, have looked at all the things that have happened, all the changes and recommendations that have been made since the outbreak of COVID and say, see, they have no idea what they're doing. Of course, it's an active virus unlike any that we've seen. So tell me, looking 3.5 years back, what have we learned?
Right. So I think, frankly, this was an amazing story in two ways. First of all, you have this unusual virus. It has unusual clinical characteristics, unusual biological characteristics. We isolated and sequenced that virus in January of 2020. 11 months later, we'd done 2 large clinical trials using a technology that had never been used to make a vaccine before that was a remarkably effective vaccine. And then within the next 7 months or so, we vaccinated 70% of the United States population. Again, an amazing accomplishment. I really do think as a medical or scientific achievement, it was the greatest thing in my lifetime. And my lifetime includes the development of a polio vaccine. Then, as you know, we hit a wall. 30% of the U.S. population simply refused to be vaccinated. They believed that the vaccine was dangerous. They didn't think that the disease was that bad. And as a consequence, 300,000 people unnecessarily lost their lives. Why? I mean, how did we lose trust of the public, lose trust in the FDA or the CDC, and how can we get it back?
Yeah. Let me ask you about the origin of the virus. I've talked to a lot of different people who, originally said there's no way it started in a lab. It started here, there. There still seems to be some question about that with even medical professionals I talk to quietly who are still suggesting that maybe it did start in the lab because this is unlike any virus. It seems to morph. It used to be, you could get a SARS vaccine and the smart cells would work, up to a decade or so. We learned with this virus that you need to get vaccinated and boosted regularly because this vaccine is always learning, always morphing, always causing new challenges.
Right. This was not a lab leak. I don't think this is a scientific controversy. I mean, you have the SARS-1, for example, raised its head in 2002. That was a lab leak. That was an animal-to-human spillover event that occurred in China. MERS, the next coronavirus, also an animal-to-human spillover event. all the early cases centered in the western section of the Hunan wholesale seafood market. I mean, when you looked at the genetic analysis of that one particular area where there were dozens of species that were sold illegally that could then catch and transmit SARS-CoV-2 to humans, all the genetic evidence was there that SARS-CoV-2 was there. So it is remarkable to me that 2/3 of the American public still believes that this could be a lab leak when all the scientific evidence shows the opposite is true. And also remember, there has never been a virus that was created in a laboratory that caused a pandemic. So as Carl Sagan says, extraordinary claims should be backed by extraordinary evidence. This is an extraordinary claim that's backed by no evidence.
Well, Dr. Paul Offit, I have actually been waiting I've been waiting for this book to be written, where somebody takes a look back and asks, what have we learned? What did we get right? What did we get wrong? And what can we do better in the future? You've written the book. I can't wait to read it. The new book is titled Tell Me When It's Over, An Insider's Guide to Deciphering COVID Myths and Navigating Our Post-Pandemic World. Thank you so much, Doctor, for being with us.
Thank you.